All right guys, what is happening? Welcome back to another video. As the title suggests, Series 2 Escort RS Turbo content today because I've just had a whole pile of parts delivered whilst I've been away working in Victoria over the last week. So the things I had delivered are a whole pile of silicone joiners, and I'll show you why in a second, adjustable fuel pressure regulator, and some fuel line as well, so I can finish off the fueling system at last. So I'm going to show you why I bought these silicone joiners and where they're going to go on the car, and then let's get stuck in working on the Escort. All right, so as you can see, everything is starting to take shape, but the reason why I bought some silicone joiners is because you can see there's a blue one down here, and it doesn't really go with the color scheme in the engine bay, and there's a blue one all the way down the bottom there, and then there's a green one, and it just doesn't really kind of go. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the black crossover pipe. I've just put on this black silicone joiner here, and this is really awkward because it is the mechanical fuel injection crossover pipe with the EFI throttle body, and they are a different size, so I had to get a reducer, but they're always too long, and I had to cut it, and I think it looks a bit gash. I did a really good job of cutting it, but I just think it looks a bit gash, so I'm probably going to get one custom made up to fit this. But I've got black silicone pipes with black constant tension clamps that are going to come down here. We've got another one that's going to go here. I've got a T-piece that's not yet arrived yet, is going to go here with dump valve, and then black silicone joiners down into the intercooler. So let's get stuck into fitting all of that. It's down here in the box.
This, in truthful, was super fiddly to do, but it's my own fault because I didn't want to have to take the front bumper off for the 15th time in order to do it. But luckily for me, past me had thought about this and put all the hose clamps in a place where they'd be easy to reach without taking the front of the car apart. Like this one here at the bottom of the intercooler. What absolute genius thought of doing it this way. Once they all came off, it was super easy to get them all back on again, or all the new ones at least anyway, because the ones I ordered were the same size as the ones that are already on the car. And this, of course, was the right size for it, so I didn't really have many issues here. Then for the top ones, and I can show you guys what it looks like. Got to admit, I'm really happy with this. I did toy with the idea of going lime green hoses or the fluoro green hoses, but I decided to go black, and I'm really glad I did. The last bit to do is to replace that polished alloy joiner there with a black one, the T-piece, just so I can fit my blow-off valve here on top of it like that. And I think that is going to look absolutely sick.
Intake pipes are semi-done now, and I can't finish them because I am waiting for that one T-piece that I showed you, or didn't show you, but spoke about earlier, that is going to hold the blow-off valve attachment. Now, I was going to get started on the fuel system. Like I said to you guys, we're going to go straight into there, but the problem is, let me turn you around, I am missing one of the, I was going to say sensors, but I'm not missing one of the sensors. I'm missing one of the connections. So this line comes from the fuel tank into the fuel filter, or from the fuel pump even into the fuel filter. This line goes all the way around into the fuel rail, and I've got the connection for the fuel rail. The one that I'm missing though is the one that is going to sit on the end of my fuel line there, that's going to connect to the fuel rail. So I can't actually do this because I don't have that connection to do that fuel line from the fuel filter into the fuel rail. But whilst I've got your attention and we're talking about fuel, I need to ask your advice or your help, because it's been a very, very long time, guys, since I've installed an adjustable fuel pressure regulator. So I'm going to turn you around again once more, and I'm going to say where I think it's going to go, and then you're going to let me know in the comments below if I'm right or if I'm horribly wrong. So as I said, fuel filter from the fuel pump, so in pressurized fuel, comes out here, it's going to follow this line round behind the intake manifold, and it's going to connect into the fuel rail there. This is the return for the fuel tank. So I'm pretty sure that my fuel pressure regulator comes off here. So I've got my fuel pressure regulator here. It's going to come in from the fuel rail, from the other end of the fuel rail, the opposite end to where the fuel is going in. So we've got fuel filter into the fuel rail, along the fuel rail, and then out of the fuel rail into here. I'm going to blank this one off. I'm going to put my gauge on the front here, and this is my return to the fuel tank. And it's obviously adjustable spring pressure, adjustable there. And then this is manifold pressure there. Now, like I said, it's been a long time since I have installed one of these. The last time I installed one of these, I think it was 2009 or 2010. I installed it on a third generation Toyota Supra, the 3-liter single turbo variant, 7M GTE. So it's a long time ago that I've installed one of these. So let me know in the comments below if I am right or if I'm horribly wrong. But let's see what else we can get done on the car today.
Well, I guess I should probably get around to doing the accelerator cable because I'm not going to go anywhere when I eventually wire it up if I don't have an accelerator cable. I'll show you guys in a second why you have to change the throttle cable, but the accelerator pedal in itself is just held on by 2 bolts. All you need is a 10mm socket to undo these and remove it from the car. All you need then is a flat blade screwdriver. I'm using a really small one just to open up this metal clip and then slide it round so I can just twist the ball joint off its little socket there. Once you've done that, pull the remainder of the cable through the firewall into the main cabin of the car, and then reach up behind the dash and push the old outer sheath through the firewall back into the engine bay. Alrighty, so this is the reason why you actually need to change the throttle cable, because this little bullet connector is the way that it connects into the butterfly assembly on the EFI throttle body, but on the MFI throttle body it has the same connector as what's on the pedal, so a little ball and socket. Now I did forget to press record in order to connect the cable to the accelerator pedal, but all you're going to do is just get the throttle assembly or throttle cable assembly, push it through the firewall into the footwell, and then connect it in the exact opposite way that you took it off. And as you can see, this one is far too long, so we're going to need to adjust that. So you have to remove the outer sheath from the cable, otherwise you'll wind up cutting the cable by accident. Lay the outer sheath in the engine bay where you want it to go, all the way up to the butterfly assembly, and then snip it off. Don't forget to measure twice though, so you don't fuck it up. Now we're going to cap the end of the sheath with a little brass clip. And I got this throttle cable from James Hainsworth and it came pre-capped. It was just a little bit too long for what I wanted. So I removed the cap off the other end and I just reused that, as you can see here. Now that that's the right length, just feed it back over the cable, put it in place for where you want it to go, and then we can trim the cable itself. And you can see just how long this cable is here. I've got to admit, I was pretty nervous trimming down this cable, so I must have measured it about 20 times before I eventually cut it. But once I was happy with it, I just snipped it down and there really was no turning back from this point. And then the easiest way to connect the throttle cable is to just open up the butterfly. That'll give you heaps more space and room to fit that cable in. And it does need some minor adjustments, but we actually need to get the car running in order to make those adjustments. I'm just over the moon that I've got full range of motion on the butterfly and the accelerator pedal.
As you see there, we now have throttle cable. But guys, let me show you what I did find when I was doing the throttle cable. I found my connector. I thought I had one. I honestly thought I had one of these, but I couldn't actually find it. But now I found it, and da-da-da, la-da-da-da, boom, bang tidy. So I actually do have the other connector for the other side to do the fuel line from the fuel filter. But what I have noticed is when I took the bracket off for the fuel filter and gave it a clean up, I forgot to protect it, and it's obviously gone rusty again. So I'm going to take this off and do it all at once and finish that all in another video, because in order to do that, I'm going to need to remove this wheel. I'm going to need to lift the car up. I'm going to need to remove this inner guard to get to the bolts here on the mud guarding bit anyway, to get to the bolts that hold this bracket in place. I'm super happy with how the engine bay looks. I think it's absolutely sick. It's really really different. I haven't seen one that's gone with the fluoro green and black kind of color scheme there, especially in a red car as well. So yeah, I think we're really good there. We just need to get a turbo blanket to cover the end of the turbo there, because it just looks horrible, doesn't it? Let's be honest. There's like a rusty exhaust housing of a turbo. But so we need to get one anyway, just to help keep temps down. I am going to put the let me get it. I can never remember what it's called. I'm going to ask you guys again to comment below. My igniter, coil, ignition sparking system. So I am going to mount this here, and I'm going to make a bracket up to mount that. I'm going to either mount it there like this, or here like this, but whichever way I do it, I'm going to build a heat shield with it to protect it again from the temperature here, from the exhaust temperature. So yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week, Sunday, 6 p.m. Australian time, which is Sunday morning, 9 a.m. UK time, for all you UK fans that are following this awesome UK car here on Australian YouTube. Take it easy, guys.